Today we're actually going to take the concept of GCF and we're going to learn how to use that to factor a polynomial. So if you guys recall, when you find a GCF, you would usually need to make your ladder. So I know that 4 goes into 12 and 16. That leaves me with 3 and 4. And you can't break it down anymore, so 4 is the GCF. And with regards to the letters, you have to take what's in common. So they both have an R. Only one of them has a P, so you can't use P in the GCF. So therefore, 4R is your GCF. So you're always looking to take the smallest amount of letters that the items have in common. If you recall, last unit we were distributing. So you would take this monomial and you would distribute to the trinomial within. And so the way we were taught is you would do like 2 times 1, and that makes 2. And you're supposed to add your exponents. So x to the first and x squared makes x cubed. Then you're going to do 2 times negative 3, that's negative 6. And x makes x squared. And then you do 2x times 1, and that is just 2x. And that's what we were basically doing last unit. We did FOIL, we did binomials times trinomials, we did a lot of that. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to undo that. And the process is called factoring. And when you factor a polynomial, you're using the GCF. So basically, before you distribute it, now you're going to factor, which also means undistribute. So it's kind of like we got to work backwards. I'm giving you the simplified answer. I want you to go back and write the distributive property problem from that. The first thing you need to do with any polynomial is figure out your GCF. So between 2, 6, and 12, you can take out 2 at the most. Now, if you look at your m's, you have m cubed, m squared, and m. You can at most take out an m from every item. So 2m's your GCF. What you do then is you would take this polynomial and put it in parentheses. So you have to create your own parentheses. Your GCF will go outside the parentheses. But you also need to put it underneath each item in the parentheses. So you need to put 2m here, 2m here, and 2m here. Now, if you recall your division rules, you will divide your coefficients, and you're going to subtract your exponents. And if you do this correctly, you should never ever get a negative exponent. That's a bad thing. We don't want that. So make sure you're avoiding negative exponents. If you do get a negative, then you messed up on the GCF portion. So all we're going to do now is the actual math. We're going to leave the GCF outside, but we're actually going to simplify each of these fractions. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. M cubed over m is m squared. I'm going to keep the minus. Now I move on. 6 divided by 2 is 3. M squared over m is just m. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And your m's actually will just cancel out. So this is your simplified answer. And the only thing is we usually don't write 1 in front of our letters. So we're just going to write m squared minus 3m plus 6. So you have successfully undistributed or factored trinomial. For this problem, there's a typo. This should actually be 4r squared. So let's change that quick. There we go. So you're first going to look for the GCF. So there's nothing that goes into 1 and 4 besides 1. But with the r's, you can take an r from both of these items. So you put the r outside and underneath, again creating our own parentheses. And we just go to write our answer. So outside you have the GCF, parentheses. Your 4 is not going to change. R squared over r is just r. Keep the minus. And anything over itself is always 1. Be careful, it's not 0, it's 1. We'll try again. So between 12 and 20, you have to try to think of what the GCF could be. So I know that 4 goes into 12 and 20. So really quick, if you're not sure, you can factor. So 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 5. Okay, so 4 is the actual GCF. You have h to the fourth versus h squared, so you will keep the smaller exponent, and that's your GCF. So now it's time to write parentheses. You're going to put your GCF outside and underneath each item. And now we're going to simplify. So you're going to leave your GCF outside the parentheses. That's not going away. 12 divided by 4 is 3. H fourth over h squared becomes h squared. Plus 20 divided by 4 is 5. And h squared over itself is just 1. I'm not going to write 1 because I already have a 5 there. So this is my factored answer. If you feel like you're good with this, you can go ahead and pause the video and try the last 2 examples on your own, and then check your answers with mine. Go ahead and take a look. Your GCF should have been 15p. When you go ahead and divide that, you get 1 and then 2p. And then the last example, between the two of them, you can factor out an 8. And you can take an x from both of them. So 8x goes outside, and inside you're left with the 8x's just cross out, you're left with a y, and then 4x. So we really have 6 more examples to do. They don't take a long time. I'm going to let you try some of them on your own. I will like to walk you through 1 and 2 though. So between 9, 12, and 18, I'm trying to do this without a ladder. So something that goes into 9, 12, and 18 could be 3. So if really quick we check that, let's see if we did it right. You'd be left with 6, 4, and 3. So even though 6 and 4 have something in common, the 3 of them do not. So 3 has to be it. So I know that feels wrong, but that is right. So what we're going to do is just write 3, and now we're going to look at the letters. I see C, C squared, and C. I can take a C out from all of them. D squared, D, and D. I can take a D out from all of them. Go ahead and draw a pair of parentheses, because you know you're going to have that in your answer. And it's up to you. If you want to do this in your head and just record your answers, you can. Just out of habit, I'm going to write 3CD up here, just so I don't forget. And now I'm going to divide and then subtract. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. The C's basically divide out. And D squared over D is just D. 12 divided by 3 is 4. C squared over C is just C. And again, these D's just become 1s. And then last but not least, 9 divided by 3 is 3. The C's and the D's cross out, so you don't need any letters, and that's your answer. Done. We'll try 12, 9, and 36. So I think the answer is 3, but let's double check. You can always check really quick if you're not sure. You get 4, 3, and 12. So there is nothing that goes into 4 and 3 and 12. So 3 is your GCF. And with the letters, you have x squared, x, and x. So you're obviously going to take just an x. Y, y squared, y. So you're just going to take a y. Set up your parentheses. And this time I'm not going to write 3xy underneath. I'm going to do it kind of in my head. I know 12 divided by 3 is 4. X squared over x leaves me with just an x. And y over itself is just 1, so the y's go away. Minus. 9 divided by 3 is 3. The x's cancel out. Y squared and y make y. Plus. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Xy and xy just divide out and make 1, so we are done. So if you're feeling comfortable with that, you can go ahead and pause the video, try the last 4 on your own, and then see if your answers match with mine. All right, let's see if anyone fell for it. Number 6, if you caught on, there's nothing that goes into 8, 7, and 4. They don't all have x's, and they don't all have y's. So when this happens, you can't factor it. You just simply write prime. Prime means not factorable. For the rest, you can double check your exponents and your letters and what numbers you got and everything. And just so you know, if you ever want to check your answers, you can distribute back with him. So you could do 4a times 3a and you get 12a squared. You could do 4a times 4 and you get 16a. So because that's what you started out with, you know that you did it right when you factored. So you can always distribute and check your answers just to make sure, because it's really easy to make a mistake.